Welcome to the Long Island Sound Podcast, where music discovery begins. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
Who would have thought? Singer-songwriter from Long Island, now a Nashville star, who played with the likes of Dolly Parton and Kenny Chesney. I'm talking about Mindy Smith. Her story, her journey is a story of resilience against all odds. She is really a fantastic singer-songwriter. Her music is all over the place, and she has her own albums. This is her 6th album that came out called Quiet Town. It's well worth your listen. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I know I probably say that about every artist, but I really mean it here. We had a great conversation. She gave us some insights into the music industry and her journey. Check it out. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited about my guest today. I'm going to steal something from her bio off the web where a great write-up. The author says, all good things come to those who wait. And I know this is going to be a great episode. And I want to welcome Nashville singer-songwriter from Long Island originally, Mindy Smith. Hey, Mindy. So great to have you on the podcast.
Hey, Steve. Good to be here.
It's, as I was talking to you earlier, your new album, I think this is your 6th album, Quiet Town, came out in October. I commute to work during the day, and I was eating it up on the way in and on the way out. And it spoke to my heart, to be honest with you, the songs. But I got to ask you, what were some of the themes that you were exploring or that you were thinking of when you came up with the different songs on Quiet Town?
I think every song I write comes from a place of figuring out the world around me. So whatever that is, whether that's me feeling, overly isolated, like I like to do. And, I will have to admit that during those years where it was a requirement, I settled right in.
Okay.
But, anywhere from exploring, struggles to spiritual, just trying to understand things spiritually, or, just being, whether I'm frustrated with, any number of things that are going on around, or just feeling good about things. So, I just write from a vibe.
Cool. Well, that's what's, that's one of the things I look to artists, ones that can develop the muse and really speak for us, and then your song may say something different to me than what you've intended. But what I'm fascinated about and why I have this podcast is I have the curiosity of how do you develop the muse? How do you strike it? I'm a frustrated guitar player who's probably got 1,000 muses on my iPhone that I haven't developed, and someday I hope to before I die. How did you, and we'll go into your earlier years as well, how did your songwriting change from when you first got your break to where you are today? Or has it? Maybe it didn't change. I don't know.
I think my process is very similar to how I've always written, which is either knocking around on the guitar and coming up with the melody. Melodies drive my lyrics most of the time. So okay. I kind of go in a little blindfolded more often than not in terms of subject matter, because I'm the kind of person that is very melody driven. So the melody has to be something I find interesting. And then oftentimes the songs that I wind up sharing with the world are the songs that meet certain criteria. How does this song make me feel when I sing it? How was I feeling when I wrote the song? How does, this song stand up about having to sing for the rest of my life?
Yeah, 1,000 times, right?
Because I hear songs every now and then on the radio, and I think, I wonder how it feels to have to sing that song for the rest of your life. Because, certain songs you're like, wouldn't mind singing, but some songs you wouldn't, I just wouldn't, that I've written, I've gone, I don't want to sing that one for the rest of my life.
Right. Even though your fans may want to hear it, it's that can be quite a
yeah. Well, sorry. I mean, and I'm thankful for having fans that like certain songs. And if there's usually the occasion that I'm not sharing a song that they like, it's because I don't either remember how to play it, the guitar, or, it's just not relevant to where I'm at in my life anymore. So, I mean, those are the only reasons why I don't like mess with songs that, maybe I've kind of like allowed to kind of take a step.
Yeah, I tell you, so I have to confess, I called your cousin Barbara this morning on my way into work because I always try to do my homework, and I knew
Lord.
no, it's all good, it's all good. But one thing about a muse that struck me about your journey, your life, is against all odds, and maybe you want to share, you know, your being born in Appalachia and ending up on Long Island. And what was relayed to me was you found the music that was inside you eventually.
I was actually born on Long Island. I was born there in
Okay.
Smithtown,
Okay.
and spent my whole young life there until, around, well, when I initially left for college and then came back to Long Island to sort of be there for my mom, who would pass away of cancer when I was around 19 years old. Now, I had always had the bug to want to sing. I didn't know, or, I was up against some struggles, and I don't want to be harping on it anymore. I'm old enough now to have grown and realized that certain people at the time of my childhood were wrong for how they treated me. And it's unfortunate, that's, the way it was for me up until just before. I'd always wanted to sing. I got sort of beat down. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay. No.
And then I wound up leaving New York. I had given up on the music thing for a little while, leaving New York, and I found myself in a place called Knoxville, Tennessee, East Tennessee, near the Smoky Mountains and Dollywood. And I discovered open mics and started writing and playing. And I would get up there and not play my guitar, just sing, because I have stage fright with my guitar. And long story short, I discovered a lot of music that really struck me. Songs from like folks, John Prine, Gillian Welsh, Alison Krauss, Nancy Griffith, people that a certain sound, and it just really, I gravitated towards it. My other influences being anyone from Cyndi Lauper to The Cure and the Sundays, have all sort of kind of marinated together in some big old messy me musically. But I did find out after I'd done a video with a little known lady named Dolly Parton.
Right. I watched it.
Yeah, I found out that whenever MySpace was a thing, remember MySpace?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah. I was contacted by my biological sister, and it took me a while to work up the courage. I did speak now and then with them, with my sister and my biological mother, and then finally in 2014, I grew some and went to meet them. But they're in and they're from and my family history is from the Blue Ridge and Appalachian Mountains.
Amazing.
And because Long Island wasn't really known for Appalachian music, stations.
Right. I didn't know about bluegrass music or, any of those genres. Really, we even lost country stations here, although they're back now on Long Island. So,
Oh, I know, it's huge there now.
getting just the point I just wanted to make, and what hit me with your story being against all odds, I think that's a great lesson in resilience of finding the person inside of you and the art that's inside of you, and then having it blossom despite lots of challenges. No, obviously don't want to get into challenges, but I think that's inspiring for the audience as well.
Right.
When somebody tells me you can't do it, sometimes I get a little irked, and I'll prove you wrong type of thing.
When there's something in you that's just part of your DNA. And again, I mean, I hit the jackpot with my family that I, was adopted into. I really feel very certain that that was otherworldly direction from,
Sure, above. Yep, I
above.
agree.
And I mean, I do. And so all of the elements that I needed to be able to move forward in the direction that I have been for these past years
Mhm.
set me up. It set me up being Larry and Sharon Smith's daughter.
Right, right. That's really, it's really amazing, you know. So I got to invite the audience. Look in the description. You're going to see links to Mindy's rendition, a video of Jolene. And I've heard Jolene before by Dolly doing it, but that video is great. It's really good, and you really you brought your style to it. Is the way that I've heard it, and there's other videos that we'll click into as well. It's just pretty neat. It's kind of tickled by it.
There's a fun story behind that too.
Yeah.
When I was when because I had just been doing the writing thing in Nashville and pursuing an artist situation, but nothing was really hitting. And I
Uh-huh.
was contacted by Steve Buckingham, who produced a record which would be called Just Because I'm a Woman. And he had contacted me because he wanted to know if I was interested in singing on this album with some of my heroes,
Of course, right?
including Shania Twain. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
Sure.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, Shelby Lynn, Alison Krauss. I mean, just the list of like artists that have been such an influence on me. Anyway, so I got excited about doing this, and I had chosen Jolene. I'm like, well, I couldn't figure out how to play it on guitar because, like, I feel
Okay.
like I'm a perpetual guitar student. I would not call myself anybody other than still studying. But I had worked up this part because I couldn't play what Dolly had played, what she had written it, how she'd written it. And that's how it became this sort of dark and tragic, and it worked with the lyrics. And so
Yeah.
it really worked out with the lyrics. And it was a great, it was,
So would you say that was your big break into the industry?
yeah,
That guy finding you? Yeah.
it would be. As an artist, it really was a turning point, and it would actually lead me to record offers from labels with, for record deals. And I wound up remaining with the label that sort of discovered me, which would be Vanguard Records at the time. And
Nice.
and we made a record, my first album, and then several after that.
Yeah.
So
I just
yes.
want to touch on one thing that seems to be a common denominator with a lot of the successful artists that I speak to, and that's open mics. You know, getting yourself out there, no matter, you called yourself a student, which I think is a great perspective. Always keep learning with the guitar, your instrument, but to get out there in front of people and finally have the chops to sing in front of people is frightening, but
Mhm.
it's a rite of passage that can lead to so many things. Yeah, I really believe that.
That's been my experience. I had never even heard of an open mic till I moved to Knoxville, and just happened to move into an apartment house situation next to somebody who regularly went to open mics, and so
Oh, okay.
um, there's another sort of serendipitous thing. I do agree with you. I think it helps you to understand how to be open to an audience when you're sharing a song. I think all of the things that you need to learn as, I wouldn't say performer. I mean, I would say, for me as a songwriter, what songs are working,
Right. Right.
what songs aren't hitting, what songs are like, you know, and then you start to get a keener sense of, okay, these songs are not, and it can just sort of delegate that later.
Right. That's the work on the set list for sure.
Right.
And so with having said that, what's your favorite part of performing live? And how do you connect with the audience? Or how did you learn how to connect with the audience? Maybe in a more appropriate question.
Okay. I love singing. That's the first thing. And I love that when I'm singing songs that I believe in that have struck a chord with somebody in a way that I can't control. I mean, you know, somebody you say, you sing a song, like I have a song that I wrote called Come to Jesus, and I have any number of people from any walk of life, many walks of life, who have shared the story of how that song has impacted their lives. Atheists, you know,
Right.
different walks of life. And I think that's what art is. Art is something that provokes thought and vibes and feelings. And I learned from, I would say, the most important teacher I had would be my mom, Sharon, who's passed away. But she was I think the most important thing she shared with anybody who had the honor of being under her to study music or in any way was to be as honest, tell the truth. And that was, for me, the best thing I could use. I think it's wonderful, a theatrical artist. I think a theatrical artist has a purpose. I think they bring some different things to the world, but I'm not a theatrical artist. I'm just
Gotcha.
I try to tell the truth the best way I can figure it out. So that's sort of my path.
Well, you know, the thing of that is, and what I can relate to is when I see an artist who totally lets their guard down and is very transparent with their feelings and their emotions when they're singing a song. You feel that music is vibration and life is vibration, right? So when that's transformed or comes to you, that separates a performer, let's say performer, with somebody who just invited me into their life, into their living room, and there could be 1,000 people in the room. And that's what makes art and music so special, because it can draw things. I'm the audience, right? It draws things out of me that I may not be able to articulate, but man, you made me feel, wow, I'm feeling what she wrote. And she's probably felt that. And you make that connection with the audience. You see it. I'm sure you see it in the eyes and how people respond to you.
Right. I mean, you can feel the audience, and honestly, I think a lot of artists, and I mean, I don't want to speak for too many people, but I think it's important to give the audience credit for
Participating?
they participate, they bring in energy, and it's a give and take. It's a give and take. And many people, and I know as a fan of artists and listening to music, certain songs and certain artists just they've said what I wanted to say but couldn't figure out how to say it.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I mean, I have so many songs that I've heard. I'm like, dang, I wish I wrote that. You know, I feel that. How did they figure that out? I mean, how did they say it, what I was feeling? And I think that's what's cool about art. You know, even visual arts, or, you know, again, film, or, you know, it's like, how'd they figure that? I mean, where'd they come up with what I was feeling? They reach into my soul.
Right, exactly, because you're a fan as well. Hey, I got to ask you this. I noted all these different collaborations that you've had with artists, and I'll drop the name, Kenny Chesney, who really, I'm going to leave the quote in, tell the audience, go to Mindy Smith's page. It's mindysmithmusic.com, and you'll read what Kenny Chesney wrote about Mindy, and it's a really beautiful sentiment that he has about it. But of the collaborations that you have, are there certain ones that stand out for you?
Well, I would say Kenny was a big one. He's such a sweetheart.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And that song, though, written by Liz Rose and Travis Meadows, two of the finest writers you'll come across, it's just, again, it's a masterpiece. And I wish I had contributed to the writing part of that, because it rings so true in so many ways. You know, I breathe in, I breathe out. You know, got friends. Yeah, the song is just really powerful.
Now, how did that come about, that you happen to be on that song?
I've been fortunate. When my first album came out, Kenny reached out to me years and years and years ago, And he's
Okay.
always just been so supportive and kind. And I think after there was a number, I can't remember what hurricane it was, the disaster.
I think it was Irma. Irma, maybe?
It was terrible. It he lives in the islands, and he has a lot of people there that he knows and loves. So he decided to do an album that would benefit folks who have lost everything. I got a text or a call. I think Buddy Cannon, or I know Buddy Cannon produced it. They worked together a lot, and I know Buddy Cannon. But Kenny texted me or called me, can't remember which, and he asked me if I wanted to sing on a song and sent it over to me, and I was just, and I'm not a crier, but that was
Hey,
got me.
well, when it touches your heart, that's what it was meant to be, Hey, Mindy, let's do this. Let's just take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about the music industry because I really want to get your perspective on things. Hey, everybody, we're with Mindy Smith. We're having a great time. There's a lot more to come. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for the ultimate podcasting adventure? The Long Island Sound podcast offers you not one, but 2 ways to engage with our captivating content. Tune in to our audio podcast on your favorite platform and let your imagination paint vivid pictures of Long Island stories. Or if you're craving a visual feast, catch our video podcast on Spotify and on the Long Island Sound YouTube channel. Double the options, double the excitement.
Hey, everybody. We're back with Mindy Smith. Mindy is an artist from Nashville. She grew up on Long Island. She lost the accent. I don't hear it at all in her voice.
See, now that's funny because some folks say I have an accent here. Then I go home, I have a Nashville accent. I come here, I have a New York accent.
Yeah, accents are so goofy. I dated a girl from Michigan who used to bust my nuts about how you doing, when you're with your guys, with your crew, you roll right back into it. And I used to travel a lot, and I worked like a Dickens to try to get rid of it because there's particularly down in Louisiana. It's what?
It's charming to have an accent. I mean,
it's charming to have a Southern accent. They have a New York accent. They look like, hey, what's he going to take out of my wallet, type of thing. That's my perspective. As I digress. So I got to ask you this: you've been in the industry a number of years. How have things changed in the music industry from when you first started to where you are now?
Well, it changes all the time. I would say you had to go, you put your boots on and you went down, you got in the dirt and you figured it out. There wasn't, and I'm not knocking it, I'm just saying it was different. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have access to anything. Books, I guess. If you're into that sort of thing. But I think just being here and coming to a place that's, the industry,
Mecca.
We're one of them anyway. It's changed now. Because they're all looking for artists with like mass followers and streams and blah, 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 and all the things.
Right.
So it's a different setup. I think there's a lot of difficulty in a lot of ways to establish yourself. I think it's hard to establish yourself anyway. And I think I wouldn't know where to begin now to try and navigate the waters that folks have to navigate just to have a voice or, share with music. I think there are also a lot of ways to share music.
Right. For good and for bad, right?
Yeah. It's not, there's no, just the way writers are just not making a good living anymore because of certain, changes to the industry. And the streaming and, it is different. It's different. And I think the assumption that people who do this for a living are, riding around,
in Rolls Royces,
jets, is not the case.
Yeah. It's, I think it's the tug of war between how many people like what you do and you honing your craft to have great stuff to put out there, and I could just, in my mind, I could just see an artist going, oh, I've got to do all this social media. Okay, I got to work on this song. It's like you're getting pulled in so many directions. It's tough. And it's also a generational thing. I know older artists who are phenomenal, humble. They'd rather show you their art instead of talking about their art. You know what I mean? And that's been my experience out there. And I've seen people on social media who have a lot of content out there, and their songs are okay. So having said that, if you were mentoring an artist now, the younger artist that you say, wow, they've got it. Okay. What would you say are the 3 things that you would tell them to work on?
What I would tell them.
Yeah. Turn around, go back. Don't do this. Find a.
I mean, if I'd listened to people who told me that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, and you hear it, and it doesn't go away. You still hear it as, however, there's every once in a while you have that. I would say, if you're if something I wish I'd have done is I wish I had learned, the guitar. Personally, something I would have done was to have really early on sort of written music, younger and younger. I didn't start writing till I was about 24 or 25. I mean, I think I tried to write like songs,
Right.
But I didn't really play an instrument. And I think original material has to, come from the heart. I think there are artists that can sing other people's songs and do very well with that, but it's just not that what's the word I'm looking for? It's not that often. Most people are making their own original content.
Right. Yeah, it's I'll agree with you on that. It's at least in the world that I'm in the New York area, it's the tribute band. It's the reminiscing, about this or that. And it's great. You can play all that stuff. And I just wish there are more venues that would be open to original artists.
See, okay. Yeah. It's the opposite here. And I don't think I don't have any experience being someone trying to create an audience in New York from scratch, like a lot of people. I imagine that would be difficult if you're not having an opportunity to share original music.
Right.
So I can see how that would be tough. Well, maybe somebody needs to start, fat open mic that works out, I mean, just somebody who's, has control of the mic and can determine. I mean, that's how those families are built. That's how those communities are built. That's how Nashville was built. There's plenty of, I know there's some in the city there.
Yep. Yeah. No, they're few and far between. I just think some of the venues, it becomes a money thing where, again, how many followers do you have? Oh, you're a this band, or you're a Tom Petty band, you're that. That's going to have a fan base that's going to drive people to the venue and drink more.
Drink more, buy food. They've got a quota.
Yeah. Business.
You can't fault them for running their business, but it'd be nice to find somebody who maybe could start something.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's certainly the common denominator that I'm hearing of people who found success with their own music is the open mics. I think it's great. So if I could repeat back to you, if you were mentoring somebody, you would say, hey, work your craft.
Absolutely.
And get really good at it, and then find opportunities. People. Right.
And, I can only speak from how I've done it. I made decisions based on, maybe not. I'm not saying I'm not telling other people to do it this way. I made, I made calls like to come to Nashville with $300 in my pocket and no means of supporting myself.
Right.
But that's back when you could actually live somewhere for very little money. That's not the case now. So I can't say I know how to do it now. I just know, creatively, it does help to just keep working on your art and being
Honing your
honest.
sk- Yep. So transparency
Be yourself.
and be yourself, right? And don't listen to the naysayers. How's that? We'll
Yeah.
sum it up
And
with
but
that.
it's okay to take and be a student too. I think every time I go into a write with somebody else, I want to learn something. If it's a new chord, or I want to hear what the twist of fate, that the song is going to take in their hands. I think
Right.
be willing to listen, learn, and be flexible and compromise and, grow. We're all still students. That's the beauty of art.
Yep. So I want to talk about Quiet Town. This is the album you released in, I think, in the beginning of October. Listened to the whole album several times, and one song that jumped out at me actually has the most plays is "Something to Write in Stone." Tell me about that. How that came about. Great
So
song.
I kind of touched on earlier having met my biological family,
Hmm.
and I had waited quite some time to do that and finally worked up the courage. And I went to meet her, my biological mother, who was lovely, lovely, lovely. But she passed away 18 months later.
Mm.
And I had, you know, kind of been messing around with certain sounds and melodies and wound up in a room with a fine writer named Park Chisholm, amazing songwriter, producer, instrumentalist, you name it. He's one of those guys. He can do it.
Okay.
And I said, I kind of want to let him know what I've been doing. And so we wrote this song, tomorrow's not promised, basically. It's, if you're, live your, not, we all worry about, oh, how am I going to pay for this or how I'm going to do that? But, there's still room to have some living time and
Sure.
making memories. And so give them something to write in stone. When you go, it's not literally, I mean, maybe literally it could be that, but just memories to leave with people.
Right. Right. I agree with you in that. As I'm getting older, I guess I'm an old man now at 63. You start, at least what I'm trying to teach myself is to be more present to people, and pay attention and look them in the eye when I'm talking to them and enjoying the moment. We don't know how much time we've got, and I want my last conversations with people. We were just in Key West this past week with some friends. We travel every year with like 4 or 5 couples. We turn into 16-year-olds, every time we get together because we all know each other. But being present to each other in conversation was probably the most enjoyable thing. Individually with people was great. It was
Yeah, it's interesting. We used to do that all the time. Before I started, having this attachment on my hand, my phone.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So when you do have those moments and uh we break our gaze, if you will, from technology. It is the best way to sort of make memories with people.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a birthday will come up, and my wife Debbie will say, "Oh, did you wish so and so happy birthday?" And the default is, "Yeah, I sent them a text." I'm kicking myself in the ass now just saying that. It's like, how come I just didn't pick up the phone and call them?
Well, and that's so interesting because I was discussing this too. It's like now we text to check if it's okay if we can call somebody. Let me
Especially
text
if,
them and see if it's okay if I give them a call, which before it was like
yeah,
nobody would even do that.
this is my rule. If they're under 30, I send them a text if like, will you talk to me? And what's a good time? Because this is just an old man talking. Is under 30, it's like they don't use the phone as a phone. They use it for everything else. But I do the same thing. It's so crazy. But
Yeah.
then when you have the conversation, it can go so many great directions. There I am on the soapbox again. It happens.
I think it's a lot of people are thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah, it's I think after the quarantine and COVID and stuff like that, it's rebounding where we've got to make connections. The country's torn in so many directions now that we all have to make an effort to rebuild the community and rebuild the connections and the bridge, right? I'd rather be a bridge is one of the songs.
Yeah.
By the way, again, to the audience, the connection to Spotify and Quiet Town will be there. And then you're also touring, right? Tours are coming up. So we'll have the links for that. I think you're heading out west and you'll be all around the place.
That's right.
I got to find out, any plans to come back to New York and do City Winery or anything like that, or it's all in the works?
I just played City Winery. My plan is to taking this record all over the place, not only just the once, but
Right, sure.
it feels great to have something new to share with people. And so my plan is to keep, making the rounds. That's the agenda, and I love the opportunity to interact with people. Looking forward to seeing folks, everywhere.
You got to make a promise. I'll make a promise. If you come into the New York metropolitan area, I'm going to come see you. I don't care what day it is. I understand. As I remember, growing up where I did in Long Island, you just take it for granted that the city's there. You don't really think, at least I didn't think to go into the city often. Yeah,
So.
I agree. I have a daughter now who lives in Manhattan. She just moved to Manhattan. She's a teacher in a theology teacher, of all things, in Manhattan. And her name's Faith. And so every chance we get to see her, we just, we're kind of tickled pink. And
also when I was growing up, the city wasn't really.
It was,
it was a little.
crappy.
It was a little.
Crappy.
Yeah, when I was, it was that time. You didn't go by yourself, but now, I think as the 80s got later, it was different. But
yeah,
the
now
70s,
great.
not
it
so
was
much.
tough. It was tough. Well,
Yeah.
Mindy, I got to say, thank you so much for giving me time. As my good friend Bob said, hey, you know what? You can account for what's in your wallet, what you own. You can never account for how much time you have left. The fact that you've given me your time and your transparency, and you've given us your art, it's really, truly a blessing. I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, dear. Hey, listen, everybody check out MindySmithMusic.com. And she's going to be, we're worldwide with our podcast, so I'm sure she'll come to a quiet town near you someday. Hey, Mindy, be well.
A town formerly known as a quiet town.
Right. Be well, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace.